dear all monks, all nuns, and all practitioners. For the meditation, for our practice, we always emphasize the practice. We need to always practice, and the practice is very simple. Just ask a question to raise doubt. Like, before our parents were born, what is my original face look like? Before our parents were born, what is my original face look like? So when the doubt get raised, we just keep doing it. So the doubt is the state that we don't understand, we don't know. The Vato state, the state where no thought arises, the Vato, the question is like a cane, and the doubt is like walking. So that's why we emphasize on the practice. Without the triple truths helping us, without the patriarchs or good no advisors teaching or helping, we're more likely to practice in the wrong way, and we may not get to the enlightenment state. We still stay in the ignorant state. So the intention from the Buddha or the teaching from the Buddha is very important. It's for us to strengthen our belief in the practice, in the teaching. So the adornment flower lineage and the Hindu lineage, they're talking about the theory. And the theory is not enough. It has to have the practice. So the theory has to get to the state where no more obstacles. And the practice, we practice until there's no more obstacles. So between the theory and the practice, there should be no obstacles. The third state, so both theory and practice should be no obstacles. And the fourth one is the final one, which is the practice, no obstacles. So in reality, the teaching from the Buddha is actually to wipe out all the attachment, self-attachment, and eventually we'll get to the state of enlightenment. But a lot of times, the theory may obstruct us from the practice, and then sometimes the practice obstruct us from theory. Due to because we not focused on the practice. So if we need to have the right view to eradicate the self-attachment. So we leave the belief from outside our mind. That is just the expedient ways. So from shallow to from subtle, from coarse to subtle, from shallow to deep, we have to have the practice to eradicate self-attachment. So with the practice, without believing the own mind, what he tried to say, it's necessary to have both. So because sometimes we don't know how to practice. So the theory, there are a lot of teaching about the theory. We listen to a lot of theories, and then we're more likely to attach to the knowledge and view, to the teaching. So we may not eradicate this or detach from this, but we're more likely to get attached to it. So that's why we emphasize on practice, so that we can strengthen our faith or belief in Oma. So an example. So the story about the sixth page and the fifth patriarch. When the fifth patriarch brought the sixth patriarch to cross the river, and the sixth patriarch tried to lead the canoe. He said, "When I'm ignorant, I need help from the teacher, but when I get enlightened, I can lead myself." So the teaching from today try to review so that we can keep the practice going, so that we can practice on the right path. And for the emancipation, we always try to detach from the self. So now is the time for question or sharing. You bring up, invite Fabio to speak. Namo Sakamuni Buddha, dear Master, and the rest of the assembly. Usually, I go on Zoom, or I go over to the Từ Ân Temple, and I always listen, and I always I notice that the master always reminding me about the practice, and I come back to myself to remind myself to practice. So whenever I interact about my body, about my seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowledge, when I use this to interact, and I reflect back to see if I really have the practice. So I usually ask myself to see if I can maintain the practice, asking the question to maintain the doubt. This you keep the master. You been reminding everyone about the teaching from this Đăng Phùng. So I keep asking myself, do I practice that is compatible with this teaching, this Đăng Phùng the verses? I have heard thuần nghịch, which is unfavorable and favorable, unfavorable and unfavorable. I reflect back to see if I react to this unfavorable and favorable condition. So when I reflect back, I feel sympathy for myself, and I feel like the habit that I have, everyone also have this habit. So this last meditation session, I remember Sư Cô Phước Chan, she mentioned that the Bodhisattva, they still attach, they have a big self-attachment. And then a lot of people give a thought of, why don't we speak softly so that people can hear? That is not the obligation. That is not the responsibility for the Patriarch Chan practitioners. And there are also the nun who made a comment, a very long comment, and a lot of people have they got bothered by it, and they keep asking, why didn't the master interrupt? Why did he talk so much? So if without the practice, we'll not be able to cross living beings over. Just like the master, when he's sitting there, stay silent, but he still try to cross living beings over. Even if he talk, he speak out, there's a way, there's another way to cross living being over. So for us as practitioners, we just need to reflect back to see if we can maintain the practice. So I just want to share this, so to see if I want to share this so that we can reflect about our practice. Everything is an illusion. It's like a dream. So we forget about the awakening. We just like the dream. That is the habit. That's the habit from living beings. So the most important things for practitioners, we just always to go back to the practice. Just like Master Laikwa mentioned, the false thoughts. When we ask the question, sometimes a lot of false thoughts come up. Discrimination thoughts, the self-attachment come along. So usually, sometimes when we not practice, this thing will not come up. But when we practice, all these things will come up. And then sometimes we get bored. And then we try to find a different practice. So because the master, the patriarchs, they're always reminding us to keep the practice, to maintain the practice. So if we don't maintain the practice, then the other things will lead us, will lead if we don't keep the practice, then all kind of things will come in. Without the practice, things like sleepiness, false thoughts, it just come up. They follow the seventh consciousness, and they keep coming up. Master Like War mentioned in the beginning, the false thoughts. We're not afraid of false thoughts. And then secondly, there will be sleepiness. So all this we should not be afraid of. We don't try to subdue all this. So right at that moment, right at that incident, we just go back to practice. No unfavorable or favorable condition. So even we enter the state of indefinite, if we realize, we notice that, we should go back to the practice. So if we're afraid of false thought and we keep asking the question quickly, faster, we should we just keep asking the question normally. And eventually, false thoughts or sleepiness will not obstruct us, interrupt us from the practice. So like the water, it's keep rising or going down, just let it be. Just try to maintain the practice, and eventually the practice will be stronger. And it get to the point it's strong enough is to lead us to enlightenment. And it will strengthen our belief in our own mind. And then the thought of taking Buddhism and that seriously will be in our mind. So the concern of the Buddha and that, the thought of the Buddha and that, the concern of Buddha and that is like the true, similar to true doubt. And so this state will lead us to the awakening state, the get back to the original phase, our original phase. So that's why we emphasize on the practice. Unfavorable and favorable condition that the patriarchs mentioned, they mentioned that they don't this should not bother us if we maintain the practice. So the Buddha mentioned waves and the ocean, water from the sea. They don't obstruct us. It's us, ourselves. So just like the wind and the flag, what he tried to say, it's not about the wind or the flag moving, it's the mind, our mind. So when we're talking about the formal appearance from different beings, like heavenly beings. They have the appearance of the heavenly beings. The ordinary living beings, they have the appearance of ordinary beings. So like move or unmoved condition, don't let it bother us if we can maintain the practice. We should not attach to any. So the Buddha mentioned our crazy mind, when it stops, and that is Bodhi. That's what its Bodhi is. So this state will leave behind the duality, the relative. So the state of enlightenment is actually really out of the dreaming. But we never get awake. We never get to this state. That's why we don't have the experience. So the example from the Buddha or the teaching from the Buddha is to help us to strengthen our belief in our own mind. So we're more likely to believe in a theory. We more likely to believe in a theory, but not in our mind, our own mind. Invite them to speak. Namo Sakamuni Buddha, dear all monks, all nuns, and the rest of the assembly. I would like to ask a question. Besides the practice, I have a question, this question for a long time. Why, from the Buddha's age, I don't hear about the skill like the Patriarches. They use like yelling, screaming, scolding. And it seems like when we hear this, it seems like Patriarchs is very, very mean, very, very mad. When I attend the session from the Common Temple, Master Laikwa mentioned that beating the practitioner until they die and put it under the the bed, and after the session we'll bury it. So things like this, I still have question about this, and so can you explain a little bit further? This is very simple. So proper age, and then the both proper and ending Dharma age period, and then ending Dharma age. So the Buddha from the Buddha's age, like the first 12 years, it's very normal. No no precepts. He doesn't come up with any precepts. That's for the 12 years. But because the habits from living beings, then the Buddha start bringing up the precepts. So now I just mentioned about the four precept that is considered to be very heavy. Balaji, that's the heavy offense if committed. So he reluctantly bring out the precepts is because of our habits. So this is all has to do with experience. Skillful means from the Buddha and the Patriarchs. It's actually they're very compassionate. They brought out preset rules and regulations. That is for us to stay away from the habits. This is to benefit all living beings, not just for ourselves, but for all living beings, not just from that generation, but later generations. So the Patriot, they have the same intention, just like the Buddha. But because we don't understand, that's why. Sometimes the master, they're very compassionate. They sacrifice their life for the disciples to get enlightenment. So the enlightenment ones and the patriarchs, they are selfless. They do everything. They sacrifice everything for all living beings. So the skills, the Buddha's skills, skillful means, or the patriarchs. So the manituas, like an example, like the manituas from the Buddha, Sakyamuni Buddha, to try to cross over the five heavenly king. So just like the precepts from Balaji to from heavy ones to light ones, they still try to help us to prevent us from the bad habits. So for us, if we want to get enlightenment, want to walk on the right path, we just try to rely on the teaching. But nowadays, living beings are very stubborn, very hard-headed. It's not easy to cross over. So the patriarchs, then they come up with this practice, which is the Huato practice, they already find out, they knew that there are no other methods left to try to cross living beings over. They can only come up practice that they mentioned that it's the only way nowadays. And sometimes disciple try to slander the Buddha. So the Buddha already mentioned, like a lion, the worms inside the lion will destroy the lion. So the Buddha mentioned no other externalists can destroy the Buddha Dharma. Only the disciple, the people within the Buddha Dharma will destroy the Buddha Dharma. So that's why the Buddha Dharma is getting worse. So just like the patriarchs, they cry every now and then, but they don't. Nobody knows. So due to this slandering or not believing in the Buddha Dharma and even try to destroy the Dharma, then we end up stay in ignorant state, which is always being suffer. So do you understand what I try to say? Yes, I do. Thank you. Now we invite Kim Ying to speak. It's a long question, then wait until next time. Now, thumbs up. Namo Sakamuni Buddha.